About 11 years ago, in a room much like this, a group of 8 people gathered once a month to explore their life's purpose and find ways to express that purpose more powerfully in the world. My role was to lead that group, even though I had never led such a group before. At the time, I felt uncertain about whether I knew enough about helping people find their purpose, but I did trust my ability to hold space in a deep inquiry, having led hundreds of personal growth workshops in the past, and I was intrigued by what was being asked of me. So we began. I gave myself enormous permission to explore in this group. Since I had never done anything like this before, I used my intuition a lot. I remember there was one moment where one of the participants in the workshop, he was having some struggle in his inner psyche. And I had each person in the room represent a part of himself. And he positioned them in the room in a place that seemed to be consistent with where he was inside himself about that part. He instructed those folks to behave in a certain way, and in so doing, his inner world came alive for him. I experimented a ton in that group, and over the next 3 or 4 years, I began to develop a set of exercises, a set of experiences that seemed to cause a major shift in these people's lives. Over time, little by little, each person popped through, and in the end, they were clear about what their purpose was. We called this group the Gifts Group. The idea was that each of us have our own unique gifts, and the goal is to find what those gifts are and bring them more fully in the world. Since then, I've led a number of groups much like that, and over the past 10 years have developed a body of work about what does it take both to find one's purpose and bring it much more fully in the world. It was on the basis of that work that I wrote this book, Inner Freedom. You know, so many books are available out on the market that talk about how to find our purpose. And they're worthwhile in and of themselves. But in my experience, most people actually have a glimpse of their purpose over their life. And the problem isn't finding their purpose. The biggest challenge is to bring it much more fully and courageously in the world. We have a bunch of internal stoppers inside ourselves, the biggest of which is the degree to which we take our culture and bring it inside ourselves. The culture is a powerful force affecting us daily, much of which is unconscious. This culture, the imprint of our culture, is so powerful that it shackles us. It keeps us from finding our own unique inner voice in the world. The soul has many definitions. My definition of the soul is that the part of us that is unique, it is the part of us that is yearning to express itself. Rumi had a saying in one of his poems, that the soul is here for its own joy. And in many ways, the joy of life comes out when we're living our own unique expression in life. This is the essence of inner freedom, that to live a full life, we have to let go of the shackles that bind us and live our soul's calling much more fully. You know, years and years ago, I had the opportunity to be a teaching assistant with Peter Berger. Peter Berger was a famous sociologist who wrote the book, The Social Construction of Reality. The premise of the book, he wrote it with Thomas Luckman, by the way, was that all of our understanding of life is socially constructed. I believe that's true. I remember in one of the first classes that I sat in with Peter, he took off his shoe and he slammed it on the ground. He said, "You have to understand the social facticity of life." Wham! It's much like Khrushchev at the United Nations in the 50s, taking his shoe and slamming it on the table. Peter Berger, he would say, "You have to understand the social facticity of life." Wham! He would slam it again. And each time I shuddered. This class shuddered, all the students shuddered, out of the impact that he was trying to impress upon us, which was how powerfully social forces affect us daily, whether we're aware of it or not. So that culture binds us in, and we're unconscious to its force, We live out our lives based on the precepts of society rather than our own inner guidance system. This is the premise of the workshop, that to live fully, we need to find that inner guidance system and bring it out. You know, Thomas More wrote the book, The Care of the Soul. And in it he premised that so much about what causes depression and sadness in life and the angst of life isn't so much our upbringing, it isn't so much a painful moment in our early childhood. It has so much more to do with the degree to which we're not living our soul's calling. The care of the soul is what this workshop is about. It's a step-by-step process that, in my experience, when people go through this process, little by little, an unfolding occurs. We start at the beginning of the book with exploring how it is that our culture has imprinted us, how it is that we've taken it on like a cloak that we wear that doesn't quite fit us. We take a look at how strongly it's gripped us, and what are the choices that we've made all along the way unconsciously to take that grip and allow it to happen. We then look from a more open space at what is our purpose. What is it are we meant to be in this world? What is our unique imprint? And we search and find it. And then the third step, how do we express it much more powerfully in the world? Through a series of exercises, through dialogue, through exploration in this teleseminar series, you will find those imprints. You will find that which you hold yourself back. And then you will find ways of bringing it much more fully in the world. This is the purpose, this is the promise of the workshop. To care for your soul, to find your purpose and bring it much more powerfully in the world. I hope you'll join me.